Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Chair, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. It gives me immense pleasure to address this session on ecology, the new diplomatic frontier for cross-border action under the auspices of the 10th Eastern Himalayan Nature Economics Forum. I thank the Balipara Foundation and the Independent University of Bangladesh for organizing this multi-stakeholder forum for the first time in Dhaka. This is the kind of people-to-people contact that we value in our exemplary bilateral relations with India. I also thank the organizers for recognizing Bangladesh's potentials for spearheading diplomatic efforts on the interface between climate and biodiversity in the Eastern Himalayan region. The shared ecology and corresponding challenges in the region can indeed transcend national borders and political divergences and create an avenue for the countries in the region to come together for meaningful collective actions. Distinguished participants, our world is going through a series of multiplied impacts induced by the climate change. Overexploitation of natural resources has severely impacted the lives and livelihoods of billions. The climate-related disasters are incurring a huge toll of around $200 billion annually. The cost will rise to $23 trillion by the year 2050, as suggested by various researchers. With the Himalayan glaciers melting at an accelerated pace, there are increased instances of floods and tropical storms in this region, making it one of the most disaster-prone regions in the world. The frequency of tropical cyclones in the North Indian Ocean is 7% of the global total, and their impact on the countries bordering the northern Bay of Bengal can be extremely dangerous. Ocean heating, regular cyclone formation destroys feeding, breeding, and nursery ground for fishes and other commercially important species. On the other hand, the sea level rise in the Bay of Bengal and its multiple after effects have direct consequence of mass movement of climate migrants, with security implications for the region, both internal and external and beyond. The World Bank's Ground Cell Report 2021 estimates that salinity, rising sea levels, and other impacts of climate change in Bangladesh may drive around 13.3 million climate migrants from their usual habitats by 2050. As it is, according to one estimate, every year 650,000 people of Bangladesh are being uprooted from their homes, from their sweet homes and traditional jobs, and are rendered climate migrants. Over the last few decades, a large number of wildlife species has gone extinct, and more are likely to face the same consequences. The Living Planet Report 2020 of the Worldwide Fund for Nature revealed that, on average, 2/3 of wildlife population had declined since 1970. The Eastern Himalayan countries, from the snow line to the sea line, as coined by the organizers, have become a global hotspot for such irredeemable losses. It is imperative to place ecology at the fulcrum of national, regional, and global policies to combat growing threats to the world's food, water, and survival systems. The nexus between ecology and economics must be the basis of the paradigm shift aimed at by nature economics. The local communities themselves should continue to act as the principal stewards of the ecology and environment impacting their lives. Their efforts across national borders can be strengthened and accelerated through a fresh approach to economic diplomacy. Bangladesh would be a willing partner to join and steer such diplomatic efforts in our regional context. Distinguished participants, Bangladesh's commitment to ecology and biodiversity protection has remained a constant in our state policy, despite our resource constraints and high population density. Our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, had enacted the Wildlife Preservation Order as early as 1973. Following his lead, the government of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina facilitated the insertion of Article 18A in our Constitution, which stipulates that, and I quote, "The state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to preserve and safeguard natural resources, biodiversity, wetlands, forest, and wildlife for the present and future citizens," unquote. Pursuant to our constitutional mandate and international obligation flowing from the Convention on Biological Diversity 1972, our national parliament enacted the Bangladesh Biological Diversity Act 2017 through public consultations. Our government has already designated more than 5% of total terrestrial area as ecologically critical areas and about 5% of the maritime zone as marine protected areas. We remain open to making efforts towards enlisting some additional wetlands or water bodies in the country under the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands 1971. In a similar vein, Bangladesh joined the Leaders' Pledge for Nature, an initiative to reverse biodiversity loss by 2030 for sustainable development during the United Nations Summit on Biodiversity in September 2020. We also joined Glasgow Leaders' Declaration on Forest and Land Use during COP26 in Glasgow last year. Subsequently, we aligned ourselves with the 30 by 30 initiative to preserve 30% of global land space and oceans by 2030. In parallel, we have joined the Global Methane Pledge to throw our support behind curbing global greenhouse gas emission. We'll certainly be pleased to see other countries in the Eastern Himalayan region join such forward-looking initiatives in the interest of our shared ecology and biodiversity. Likewise, Bangladesh stands ready to work together with other regional countries to combat the growing menace of wildlife trafficking. We urge the relevant UN organizations to support sustained regional level dialogues and joint initiatives in this regard. Our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had joined the first ever World Tiger Summit back in 2010 in St. Petersburg in the Russian Federation. The commitment she had made at this summit contributed to our joint work with India in increasing the number of tigers in the Sundarbans. Our government remains pledge-bound to our citizens to safeguard the critical ecosystem of the Sundarbans, a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site, at any cost. It may be relevant here to mention that we have featured the Sundarbans in the Dex calendar to be published by my ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2023, which is also a testimony to the importance we attach to this world's largest mangrove forest in our foreign policy pursuits. As you are all aware, Bangladesh is now hosting nearly 1.2 million forcibly displaced Rohingyas from Myanmar, especially in the ecologically critical areas of Cox's Bazar. Due to the massive influx of Rohingya from August 2017, there has been a severe disruption of the elephant trail in the impacted areas. The prolonged Rohingya presence has also taken a heavy toll on the local environment, resulting in loss of forest coverage and occasional mudslides in the low elevated hilly terrain. The safe and dignified repatriation of the Rohingya to their homes in Myanmar's Rakhine state is of paramount importance, not only for restoring their legitimate status as Myanmar citizens, but also for preserving the endangered ecosystems in the affected areas that are integrated with the ecology of the eastern Himalaya region. Even after the anticipated repatriation of Rohingya, it would take Bangladesh some considerable efforts and time to restore and rewild the impacted areas. In some other parts of Bangladesh, the lives and livelihoods of people are crucially dependent on the flow of certain transboundary rivers. A sound water sharing mechanism in these rivers is vital for the sustainable living and overall ecology of the concerned areas. In order to achieve durable solutions in this context, Bangladesh has been advocating for a basin-wide approach to water management anchored in scientific evidence and data. In the sub-regional context, we also urge the need for collaboration among the countries concerned to further improve our flood prediction system, including through sharing of data. We are pleased that following a hiatus, Bangladesh and India held a meeting of the Joint River Commission in September this year. Bangladesh remains actively engaged with the ongoing UN-sponsored negotiations on the high seas areas beyond national jurisdictions and on combating plastic pollution. As the current chair of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, we attach special importance to protecting the marine ecosystems that should be the cornerstones of our shared pursuit of a sustainable and inclusive blue economy. We believe that countries in the eastern Himalayan region can play an instrumental role in this connection. As the world's largest delta, Bangladesh remains particularly sensitized to the ecological characteristics of our deltaic terrain, with added implications for our diplomatic efforts. Our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has personally led the efforts to formulate the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100 to help realize her vision of a resilient and prosperous delta. During COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt last month, we joined the Dutch initiative to form a champions group on deltas and coastal areas and signaled our principled support for the International Panel on Deltas and Coastal Areas to be launching during the UN Water Conference in March 2023. In addition, Bangladesh maintains its standing offer to host the Secretariat of the International Delta Coalition in Dhaka. We have this year joined the call for the UN Secretary General to appoint a special envoy on water. Our recently launched National Adaptation Plan encompasses 8 sectors where priority actions have been outlined for protecting our ecosystems, biodiversity, deltas, and coastal zones. Just the day before yesterday, our Honorable Prime Minister launched the Global Hub on locally led adaptation in Dhaka under the aegis of the Global Center on Adaptation. This hub will allow us to share our homegrown experiences with water-related climate adaptation actions like floating agriculture, flood and cyclone shelters, flood-tolerant crops varieties, etc. Distinguished participants, we hope that the UN Biodiversity Conference, that is COP15, that is being held in Montreal, Canada, at the moment will culminate in a game-changing, comprehensive plan to address biodiversity loss to concern international action. We used to see a balanced outcome from COP15 with primacy given to supporting developing and least developed countries with adequate financing and technologies to step up their efforts in biodiversity protection. Amidst the current geopolitical tension, the combined efforts and solidarity of international community would remain critical to save our planet and to secure its diverse ecosystem for our future generations. There is no alternative to constructive and innovative diplomacy towards navigating the challenges we countenance for our biodiversity and sustainable development. The countries in the eastern Himalayan region can take a lead on that by mobilizing the necessary political will for charting a new pathway for people-centered cross-border actions. I thank you all. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu.